back. We're talking to the great and famous Holly Flanders, who, if you're not sure, was a three-time World Cup winner, two-time Olympian, 27 times on the podium, and second place in the 83 World Cup in terms of downhill. And the one question I want to start with is that you've always were known as being sort of a technically proficient downhill skier. And to me, that's an oxymoron since you have techno events and downhill events, and especially on the equipment. What was it that growing up in New Hampshire caused you to have the technical expertise that you had? Because we all watched you.
That's so funny. I really didn't have the technical expertise. I kind of came out of the backwoods of New Hampshire, and I was coached by my sister, Deb Flanders, who was on the U.S. ski team before I was. She's 5 years older than I am, and I'm very lucky to have her as a coach. And basically what we worked on was getting the feel for letting the skis run and, how to let your ankles kind of swim, be loose in the knees and ankles. And so the skis would kind of swim because that's faster. If you had them on edge, that would be slower. And from there, I just kind of gutted my way onto the ski team. And then I was really bad technically at first, but form follows function. I really wanted to be fast, so I figured out what I needed to do. So my form followed because I had to ski technically well to be fast.
Well, your technical expertise, I know you say you weren't technical at the beginning, but what we saw when you, especially 83, 84, you were if we were teaching, we'd use the example on the video because of the way you skied. It was pretty, it was fast, and certainly it was precise. So obviously, as your point is, that's a learned concept, especially as you get a little bit older. Did you play any other sports like coming up through high school?
Well, I did. I dabbled in the different sports, and I bike raced also. So at one point, it was kind of do I bike race or do I ski race? And the answer was pretty clear. Ski racing was where it was at. But I know that if I wasn't ski racing, I probably would have gone on and bike raced. And even after I finished ski racing, I raced mountain bikes. So, there's that thing where you have to decide at one point which one to do.
What do you like better?
Well, I love them both.
Okay.
Love them both.
Different seasons, so it makes it easy, right?
Perfect. Yeah. And mountain biking is a great complement to skiing. You have to look ahead, you got to react, all these things. It's just so much fun. And both sports bring you out into the most beautiful places. Love that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you mentioned that your sister made the national team. So was ski up in New Hampshire. Was it skiing a family thing? Mom and dad skied?
Yeah. So we skied as a family at Mount Sunapee, New Hampshire when I was a kid. And my sister wanted to ski race. So we joined the Mount Sunapee club, ski club, and did the little local races. And it just went on from there. She was a very talented downhiller, made it onto the team. And then when she was 18, she had a bad accident. Basically, she was just barely 18. She broke her leg badly. And that put an end to her career on the US ski team. But after a few years of recovering, she raced on the pro circuit and did really well.
When did you know you were good at this? When did it sort of consciously realize that you were real destined to be something special?
When I was 16 years old, I was on the Pat's Peak ski team, little ski area in central New Hampshire. My sister was coaching. And like I said, we were working on letting our skis run and how to, gain speed in the turn and all these things. And there was one day where I had completed a giant slalom training run. And in that run around the gates, I got a feel for the motions I needed to make with my knees and ankles and feet in order to get the skis to go faster. And how to absorb all the terrain, the bumps and whatever. And I finished that run. I go, wow. I kind of look around and go, I have a feeling if I stick with this, I could possibly be one of the best in the world. I know it would, it'd take a lot of commitment, a lot of time and energy, a big chunk of my life, but I have that feeling I could do it. So 16 years old.
Okay. That's a seminal moment to remember because it's something you can put your feet on. And we all have those 4 or 5 moments in our lives that, you turn right or left and there's a different outcome. I mean, that's certainly
Yes.
true. Now, you were you're a rather unique individual. You made the national team at 21, you retired at 28. But one of the conversations we've had with Tamara McKinney, Deb Armstrong, they actually made the team, your teammates, some of those young ladies. There was girls 15, 16, 17 on that national team. And
Yes.
as we talked to Deb Armstrong, you were I don't want to say you were the mother, but you were certainly the mature 21-year-old of that team. What was the thinking of the national team having youth and that long? And you had such a terrific career, but it was relatively short, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. I know I was such a mature person on the team. But no, I started late. Late. I went to Burke Mountain Academy not until I was a senior in high school. And then they started, teaching me the more technical fine points. And then from there, I made the US ski team in downhill. But yeah, back then they wanted the younger skiers. And when I was 24, 25, 26, I remember they were telling me, it's time for you to go do something else. And, but
I,
there is this thing where, you've got to have a huge amount of energy for the sport. If
right.
you're going to win, you have to be willing to go beyond every day. You go beyond what you think you can do. And so there was being able to hold on to that energy, but there was also like, is your body holding out? My body, didn't hold out that well. By the time I retired, I couldn't walk very comfortably. My knees really hurt, my hips hurt. And, I haven't been able to run since I was 22. I just overtrained, trained so hard. I mean, my legs were about twice the size they are now. I even had the muscles here
Yeah.
and that all protected me during the high speed falls. You need to have good, a lot of muscle to protect you when you're kind of ragdolling around at 80 miles an hour.
All those muscles you refer to morph on all of us. I'm 71 and they disappeared in my early 60s. And it doesn't matter. I still keep working out, but if they still disappear. So kind
Got
of
to
comes.
use them or lose them, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
comes with the territory. I think of asking the question is you think of Lindsay making a comeback at 41.
Yeah.
You think of Michaela being, in her early 30s.
Yes.
And with this NIL for football and basketball, you think about, do you want a seasoned 21-year-old kid who's played a couple years of college football or a 17, almost 18-year-old high school kid? As terms of the process, and obviously the 21-year-old is more gifted, at least more advanced than a 17 or 18-year-old without any experience. So just the thought process of the way the national team thought, that certainly has changed. But
Yeah.
it was a rather unique experience because I don't think they were one of the few teams that really approached it that way. That worldwide, that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's changed, thank goodness. I mean, everyone's different too. I was a very late bloomer. Tamara was a very early bloomer and she was able to, with some ups and downs, she was able to maintain throughout the years, but everyone's different. So
Yeah.
it's good that they're doing that now.
Is there any one race of all your careers or one thing that stuck out? And then the follow-up question to that is that I have to ask this as a threat on anybody pulling on the stars and stripes for your national team. Just your personal thoughts on that. And was there a race that was maybe one that you sort of talk about or at least remember and you bring up at a cocktail party because you thought was that one of those moments?
Well, of course, there was my first World Cup downhill win. That was amazing. Um, okay, hold on. My first World Cup downhill win was amazing because, like I said, I was this little backwoods kid from New Hampshire. I didn't really have talent, natural talent. I sort of gutted my way up, gritted my way up to the top. And when I won my first World Cup downhill, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was able to do this coming from, where I came from. And I was always shy and understated and not very confident. So, just, and then standing on the podium that day, it was, it was just the most unbelievable feeling. It's like, wow, this is just amazing what the human spirit can do.
Yeah. Where'd you win your first one?
It was Bad Gastein, Austria,
Okay.
1982.
Difficult course. Very difficult course.
It, it, I didn't think it was that difficult.
Okay.
I just, it was kind of a normal, it wasn't one of the more difficult downhills. It was just normal.
Well, it wasn't Kitzbühel, but it was still challenging. It was steep. It was very, you know, everything in Austria is steep, but that was
Right.
there's not much there that isn't. It's a little bit like, being out at Deer Valley, Birds of Prey. It's a whole nother animal. Olympian, just a brief thought on what it's like to be an Olympian. It's got to be a special feeling pulling on USA stuff.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I would always look up to those girls who were walking around with the US ski team jackets on. And then when I was able to put one on myself, wow, that's incredible. And representing the country, it, there are no words for it. It's just a real honor. And to be counted up there amongst those other women in the world, just unbelievable.
Are your U.S. team jackets still hanging in the closet? Like a lot of guys will still keep their varsity jackets from high school and college still hanging. You still got your
Of course. I
okay.
have a few. I've got a few of them. So I pull them out for retro. There's some retro fundraiser and they ask us to come out. So I pull out the 1980s stuff. And then all the other people are dressed up in 1980s costumes. And I'm wearing the 1984 Olympic downhill suit, the one with the kind of the orange stripe barber pole
A little bit
one.
behind me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was the pre-Olympics in 83.
Even in those days, a specialist was really a rare person, rare individual in the sport of skiing. You might be a technical, you might be a speed event. You were a great downhiller. What was your slalom, giant slalom, and there was certainly no Super G in those days. What was giant slalom and slalom like? It's just not something that you worked hard at or you didn't like or you liked or just curious?
Oh, I absolutely liked them. I just couldn't turn as well for some reason. I don't know if it was physiological, but I just couldn't get those skis around as easy as the other women. Now with the shape skis, that's a whole different story. But I actually won an Eastern Cup slalom in like 77 or 78, which I still can't believe. But downhill is just what I did the best in. I would have raced, I did race some World Cup slaloms and giant slaloms. I think finally I got a 22nd in a World Cup Super G. That came around in 84 or 85. And so I was able to race in some World Cup Super Gs. But yeah, I just couldn't buy a turn. Just didn't have it.
Were you when you're going 80 or 90 miles an hour on a pair of skis downhill? Was were you ever did your mind was it something you had to learn to go fast, or was it just something that you just like going fast? Is it a learned
Oh, for
response?
me, oh yeah, for me, I definitely had to learn
Okay.
to go fast. I mean, I loved speed, but I did not love the feeling of going fast out of control at all. I, I pretty much, well, Scott Schmidt told me early on that when he did his extreme skiing, he always calculated his risks. So early on, I'm like, okay, if Scott Schmidt can ski that stuff and calculate his risks, I can do the same in downhill. I remember one year, Franz Klammer, I heard that Franz Klammer did not fall once. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to go through a whole year without falling once. And I did it. I didn't fall. Free skiing, training, racing, side slipping, nothing. And that was the year I actually won my first 2 World Cup downhills. But, it shows kind of what the mind can do, what you can do if you set your mind to things. But yeah, so I started out slow. We had a training camp in Sugarloaf, Maine. And, the coaches built us up. They had us run straight on a track, fully clothed. And then you start, taking off your jackets and warm-ups. And it's amazing how much faster you go when when you're in a downhill suit as opposed to jacket and warm-ups. And then, then they put us on the course. We ran it standing up and then, stripping down into our downhill suits and getting in a tuck, just incrementally. And that works because you get used to the speeds and to the reactions you need and how far ahead you need to react.
I'll never forget the day I nearly died. I was a young journalist with a great career, starting a family. The only way we found out I had any kind of heart issue was when I went into sudden death. My coworkers sprung into action. They've recently been trained in life-saving CPR protocols developed by the American Heart Association. They're the ones that kept me alive until the medics came. They did many tests on me in the hospital after my cardiac arrest and created a treatment plan, all with research from the American Heart Association. I think unless you are a heart disease patient, you may not know how much work the American Heart Association does behind the scenes to save your life. Since my cardiac arrest, I've had 2 more children. I've watched all 3 of my children grow into adulthood. I'm gonna cry now. Graduate from college, my daughter got married. I have grandchildren, and I'm still here.
Learn more about the American Heart Association's work at helpheart.org.
It's pretty amazing how much your arm position affects your turns. To carve a good turn, you want weight over your edges, especially your downhill ski. Ankle, knee, hip into the hill, upper body down the hill. If I move my arms all over, it will directly affect the pressure on my edges. So the position you want to be in is your hands in front, relaxed and forward. A lot of skiers will plant the pole and drop their hand and it will be next to their thigh. That takes pressure off your downhill ski because it takes you out of that angulated position. It rotates your body and releases the pressure on your downhill ski. If I tip my body and lift my arms, I lose pressure on my downhill ski again. In the last position, if you hold your hands tight and your arms bent in front of you, it puts me on my heels and out of the athletic position. You want your hands relaxing in front and you just want to keep them here the whole time. You just plant the pole, bring it back. Plant the pole, bring it back to that relaxed position out in front. Question I get is how often do I get my skis tuned? As a former ski racer, I like to get them tuned almost every time I ski. But for a recreational skier, I would recommend maybe every 4 to 6 times after you ski to get them tuned. Some signs that you need to get them tuned, though, if you look at the base, if it's a little whitish, that means it's dry. So I would recommend getting them waxed. And if you see any signs of rust, you want to get them tuned because you want to maintain the integrity of the metal edge. Or if there's any gouges on the base, it will make you slide if you're on a steep, icy pitch. You want to have sharp edges for that condition. I go to Gorsuch Ski Service because they're so good to me and my skis have been great. I recommend going to your local shop and getting your skis tuned. It's important to take care of our equipment and ski on fresh, sharp, waxed skis.
Welcome back. We're standing in front of Woody's, which is kind of a ski shop here in Harbor. It's been open about a year. We kind of wandered in here the other day after a time at Nubs, and it is an unbelievable ski shop. We spent some time talking with their ownership and a little bit about the shop, and it could not be a more quaint place, but mostly it provides the kind of ski apparel that you don't get a chance to see at a lot of places. The ownership here is intelligent. They know what's going on. It's bright. You'll see when we do the show. It's something. So they were nice enough to give me a hat, which I'm wearing. So let's be clear about the nepotism in that process, but it is an absolute perfect ski shop, and you're going to see why in just a couple seconds. We're at Woody's with Brooke Woodham.
Yep.
And Brooke, we've been coming by this place for a long time. You've owned it since March of 25. We finally stopped in last week, talked to your staff. Turns out we had a whole bunch of friends. We wanted to be able to make part of the show. This is a very cool ski shop. Talk to me about it.
It's a passion project. It is everything that we love to do as myself, as a family. It's an honor to be here and be doing this every day. We feel really lucky to be here.
What do you think a specialty is here? Let me start with saying that you've got real race equipment, real racers would want.
We do. We have real race equipment. And we're trying to grow that section too. So this is something I do with my kids. I do myself, beer league, and we just have a blast doing it.
What's your background?
My background in skiing, I used to be a sales rep. I started out working for Boyne in the 90s, and I've always kind of stayed in the business one way or another. So I've been around every angle of it. So when this popped up, it was a perfect fit.
I'm going to ask a really silly question, but it's one I've always wanted to ask. I've never asked anybody. When I walk into a quality ski shop, they seem to have the coolest stuff. It may be a little on the expensive side sometimes, and maybe not. But I don't get the same stuff when I walk in at a regular retailer, a regular ski guy who has tennis balls and golf clubs and the rest of it.
Yeah.
I walk in here and I look around and I see the coolest. Is it style and taste, or is it luck? What is it that makes it so cool that you guys are different than the rest of us that are always looking for cool
style
things?
And taste, but it's also education. You have to know what you're selling, and I only want to sell stuff I believe in, as does Colin, who also works here full time. We put this assortment together very thoughtfully. We only wanted to carry brands that we believe in, and that we know well. So we'll grow it as we get to know other brands better, but this is what we knew and what we started with.
You have a pretty famous boot fitter, and I say famous, he just knows what he's doing. And we preach all the time, a $10 boot fit correctly is still a good boot. Mm-hmm. A $20,000 boot that is incorrectly fit is still cold.
Yes.
Talk about your boot fitting service.
Yeah, Colin's been doing this for 30 years. And we have another guy, Talos, that came from downstate. He was Bill and Paul's, and so a good assortment of people with a big knowledge of boot fitting. We do bumping out, making sure every boot is fit custom to your foot. That is our goal.
Talk a bit about your featured brands, because you've got some Atomic, you've got Head, you've got a variety, you've got the blue heads, which are hard to find.
Yep.
But that being the case, talk about your featured brands here in the store.
Yeah, we have Atomic and Head, and these were reps that were carried in the ski shop previously. So we went with that direction because they've been here, but we took it to another level with the race. And the reps really stuck by us, and they've helped us out so much in getting this assortment together and getting it right and getting customers what they need.
Are you a full service summer? What do you do in the summer?
Yeah.
Does it close? Talk about the summer.
No, in the summer we will expand. So we have so much knowledge in footwear and footbeds. We do full custom orthotic footbeds, specifically now for ski, but we have full medical grade footbeds as well. So with that, we transition into a lot of footwear and running and trail.
Okay.
and we'll focus a lot on that. So you'll see the ski wall turned into a footwear wall. We will have camping and hiking and everything northern Michigan.
The color green is forest green outside. I'm just asking because I'll take obviously you're looking at the building as we're talking. Why that color? Because it looks really cool.
That's my favorite color.
Okay.
And it's nature. It's trees.
Right. Well, I think of it as a Spartan. That's the reason. I'm a Spartan, so
Yeah,
that's why I started. I said with my eye goes,
Yeah,
right to this. Listen, for terrific shopping. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Just wanted to thank Brooke for taking some time out to talk to us a little bit about Woody's. Guys, I'm telling you, if you come up to Petoskey or Harbor, you got to stop in. It is one of the coolest spots ever. And pick yourself up a nice baseball hat because that'll always make you look good. But I'm just telling you, I've been in a lot of ski shops. This is a real special one. So take some time and check it out. And we'll see you in just a couple seconds.
When the world's endangered animals need help most, when their lives are at greatest risk, when they would otherwise be lost, the International Fund for Animal Welfare is there, taking action to rescue the animals we love, to protect them and their threatened natural habitats. But the danger to animals the world over is growing, and the need for your help has never been more urgent. On land, you'll help stop poachers from threatening and killing elephants and big cats for the illegal wildlife trade. In the oceans, you'll help rescue dolphins, whales, and seals from deadly hazards. And you'll help rescue, rehabilitate, and release vulnerable animals when disasters strike. Here at home and around the world, we can't do this work without you. See how you can help animals and people thrive together at joinifall.org.
At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, ending abuse is not just our job, it's our promise.
So you had married a Buffalo Bill place kicker, Todd Schlopy. Alex Schlopy, your son, is won medals in the X-Games and is one of the great freestylers. Where did racing and you mentioned you're teaching freestyle. Last year we interviewed Wayne Wong and had a great conversation with him, and then the next week we had Johnny Mosley. So I'm not a freestyle guy. Obviously, I come from the race side, but it was kind of fun listening to them talk about their early beginnings. So my question is, where was the transition for you from racing over to, because obviously you gave birth to a child that turned out to be one of the best freestyle skiers in the world.
Yeah, Alex Schlopy. I got him into racing, which is actually a good base for going into, the free ski stuff. And he just wanted to, build jumps and jump off them and go in the park and things like that. He didn't want to race, which was fine, but he did it himself. He just asked me for skis and a pass, and we lived near the bus line up to Park City. So he got himself there. It was amazing. And for me, I was so busy raising kids. I had 3 kids. They're grown up now. But for most of that time, I was a single mom, which, I raised them mostly on my own. And, that was a huge challenge. I didn't have time to coach. I mean, I had, the age groups staggered, so I couldn't coach one. I just couldn't. So, now at the other end of that, I don't really want to coach racing because it's gotten so intense now.
Yes.
But the free ski is not. When Alex got started in it, he was one of the founders of that sport, basically. There wasn't a program that I could put him into. He just kind of made his way up to some of the competitions, and then all of a sudden he was winning the Vermont Open as a youngster when he was 15, and then he won the X Games at the age of 18, and then went on from there. But the free ski, it's just I can't. I have too much to do. I can't be there for the Alpine right now.
We had a chance last year to talk to Tommy Moe, whose wife was a World Cupper. They have a child who's a very good FIS racer. She's about 16, 17. And the question I asked him, I want to ask the same question to you. 2 professional ski racers in the family, it puts a lot of pressure on the kid, or it doesn't put a lot of pressure. Obviously, in your case, World Cup champion downhiller and a former professional football player. That's got to be an interesting discussion for Alex because he's got two unbelievable models, and there's helicopter parents that we all are involved in. I still coach high school, and sometimes you want to swat them with a broom, get them out the door.
Yeah.
But what kind of mother, what kind of parent were you as a coach to Alex? I'm just curious on that.
I wasn't the helicopter parent at all. I had other kids I had to focus on,
Right.
and I didn't push him at all. But I always told them, be the very best you can be, go for it. If you're going to do something, go for it. And then one lesson that I learned in my downhill years was I would put myself in a better position to perform if I, believe it or not, if I, up at the start of a race, if I stopped and looked out at the scenery and sort of appreciated the beauty, kind of, it gets you out of that, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, and pressuring yourself, where you look at the beauty, you just go, wow, I get to do this. This is just amazing. It puts you in the here and now and into your heart, and you can perform better from there. So I told him to do that, and he did. He said, Mom, at the start of the X-Games, I looked out at the beauty and, kind of took it in, and then won. He won as a rookie.
If you're not, well, we mentioned the last name Schlopy. He's obviously a cousin to Eric, who's an unbelievable downhill, has had a great career. When you guys get together for a family ski event, you and Eric and the rest of the family, there's got to be some serious talent in that group. Where do you fall? Just curious.
I'm the old lady now. The youngsters, Eric has a son, Spider Schlopy, who's going to Burke Mountain Academy and racing. He got a late start because Eric didn't put him into ski racing. Spider wanted to get into it, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. One of the things you've done as a career, and I've always asked this question, you've gone into motivational speaking. I think you're working on a book, if I'm not mistaken, about sort of motivation and how to be better at just whatever it is that you're involved in.
Yes.
And that's been kind of a real constant in your life. If you would have not maybe been the ski racer you were, have you ever contemplated what maybe a lifetime career would have been for you?
Boy, yes, I have thought of that. And I almost wish that I had, become a doctor. I'm passionate about wellness.
Okay.
And I'm passionate about regenerative medicine. Because like I told you, when I retired from ski racing, I couldn't walk very well. I hurt, the knees hurt. As soon as someone showed up in Park City who did stem cells, I heard about it, and I went there. I said, I want some stem cells in my knees. And it was Dr. Harry Adelson. He's one of the pioneers in stem cell therapy. So I got stem cells in my knees, and they got better. Mind you, I didn't wait till they were bone on bone. Like, I didn't keep crushing them while they hurt. Like, I went easy on them, and I biked more rather than running or hiking, which I couldn't run anyways. I didn't ski as hard, but the knees got better, and they're still good. Right now, I work at a bioenergetic healing center. I'm a patient ambassador, and we specialize in brain regeneration for people with Parkinson's.
Wow.
So I've been there over 3 years, and I got there, I go, okay, show me. I'll believe this when I see it.
Yeah.
But it's stem cells to the brain in a way that nobody else does it, with a bunch of other therapies that take off inflammation, like red light therapy, hyperbaric chamber, acupuncture, and some other frequency medicine, energy medicine. And I've seen people get better. I've seen a few people, overcome many of their Parkinson's symptoms.
Yeah.
That lady in particular is completely through her Parkinson's symptoms, and So it's very inspiring. I absolutely love these people who um, they're in it. They've got this neurodegenerative disease that is so grievous, but they come there and then they have so much hope for the first time, and I see the improvements, and it's just very inspiring, and that's what keeps me going.
Your ski success led you to be an ambassador in a variety of fronts. And I think for a career, that's pretty terrific. Last question. When you go out and give motivational speech, what is it that you're trying to tell? And I know every group's a little bit different. Maybe you style it to a different group, but what is it that brought you to motivational speaking, and what can we learn from your message?
Well, basically, I think it was over 10 years ago. I was mountain biking up high in the mountains, and it was beautiful. And I kind of stopped and then thought, I'm through raising my children, through the hardest part. What do I want to do now with my life? What matters to me? And what I came up with was that I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to be a gift. I wanted to share my gift and see if there's any way that I can inspire people along their path.
Yeah.
And so I, started the process of the book and, coming up with some speaking points. And basically, the book is in kind of, it's in a whole can of worms right now with editing. I've written the whole thing, but it's just, writing a book is like birthing a baby. It's really tough, right? But the title right now is The 7 Decisions Made Going from Worst to First. And like decision number 1 is decide to focus on one talent. When you're younger, you do a bunch of different sports, but eventually you find what you really love, that maybe gives you a little bit of challenge, but you love it. And you use, you kind of search within yourself to see what it is that is really true for you. And so you focus on that. So many people these days are all over the place. They think they need to focus on 3 or 4 different talents. But if you actually put your focus on one, and then decision number 2 is you decide to associate with the best. You get around the best people. You take their courses, you work with them, you partner with them, whatever, but you get around the best people and you learn. And then the third decision is decide to be the best at what you're doing. That's, your best, or maybe the best in your group or your industry, or maybe even best in the world. So that just raises the bar for you. I'm going to be the absolute best that I possibly can. And maybe that means best in the world. And then decision number 4 is, I call it decide to do the 10th pull-up. Because to get into Burke Mountain Academy at the age of 16, I had to be able to do 10 pull-ups. And I couldn't do one. So, I spent the summer trying to, practice doing pull-ups, and I got up to 7. I could never get beyond 7. And then the day of the test, I did 10 and then fainted. So, deciding to do the 10th pull-up means you're going beyond what you think you can do. Yeah. And kind of along the way, you have those moments, those things you need to go beyond. And then decision number 5 is decide to stop copying. We had our head coach, Michel Rudigos, at the time, along with John Atkins, John McMurtry, and Ernst Hager. They gathered us up for a team meeting, and they said, we are Americans. We need to stop copying the Europeans because they were winning all the time. We were actually doing really poorly. Like, we were failures, right? So he said, we're cowboys. Cowboys make their own rules, right? Ski how you ski and stop copying the Europeans. Mm-hmm. And of course, you have to master the basics first. but after that you innovate, you improvise, and you figure out faster ways. And that's when I was bellying out the turn, which meant, if I got a little low on the line, I didn't crank on my edges to stay on line. I would kind of let the turn run out for, I don't know, 2 or 3 turns, whatever it took, rather than cranking. And the Europeans started watching me. I'm going, are you kidding me? They're watching me. It was so funny. But so that was 5. Number 6 is decide to tell victim to victory stories. So when you tell your stories, you can tell your victim stories, all the hardships you had, but then you say, and the good thing about that was, I learned, I grew, I overcame, it made me stronger, whatever. So you tell your stories in that manner, and you kind of elevate your life that way to being a winner rather than a victim. And then decision number 7 is decide to experience beauty. And that was the one I was telling you about a little bit earlier, where I had actually been at a training camp, and we were running giant slalom time trials in Solden, Austria. And of course, I was the slowest because I was against Tamara McKinney, Kristen Cooper, Debbie Armstrong, all those really fast skiers. And so giant slalom time trials, I was pretty slow. But then one day I stopped before the starting gate, and I kind of thought, wait a minute, I don't want to continue to be just mediocre. I could continue. I was placing 20th in World Cup downhills. I could have kind of kept on, stayed on the team, traveled around, this and that. But I'm like, I don't want to be mediocre.
Yeah.
So that's when my mind emptied out. And that seems to be a thing, like you empty out your mind. And then I just looked out over the Alps, and I was aghast. I'm like, I've been here all these days and haven't even noticed them. I haven't even seen these beautiful mountains with the craggy peaks and the glaciers and the blue sky and the rocks, the grays and the browns. And I just took it in for a little bit. I went, wow. And I took that feeling with me and made some turns. And I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. You get to put the ski on edge and feel the power in the skis and the beautiful, arcs and the rhythm and all that. And then I jumped in the time trial. And on the course, I was like, wow, this feels so good. I won that time trial. And then I won, I got faster. I'm like, okay, well, there's something to this. It's a hack. It's a performance hack. So that was decision number 7, where you take in the beauty and kind of elevate your, the level that you're operating from.
I guess they call it visualization now, right? That's just one of those things that the mind. Well, we didn't account for the mind for a long time as being an important part of the body in terms of success. It was just the 10,000 hours. You had to put your 10,000 hours in to get the skill. And I think
both.
Yeah, well, it's if you have 3 or 4 careers, 10,000 hours to become good at anything. It's 40,000 hours. If you take 4 careers, it becomes a little more. Absolute last question. Your favorite place to free ski now? When I just say go out for the afternoon, I know you're in Utah, but do you have a favorite place to ski?
Well, actually, I love Snowbird.
Okay.
It's every time I go there, there's a lot of steep stuff, a lot of off-piste, a lot of chutes and stuff you can, it's love that stuff. And of course, I've been mostly around Utah the last 30 years, but Chamonix, France is another one.
Oh, God, yes.
Yes.
I'm a Mammoth. I spent 10 years helping run a race program at Mammoth. So I lived in San Diego for about 15, 18 years. So we would go up on the weekends and either drive one or fly up, however it worked. I was a Mammoth fan, but when Dave McCoy died, a lot of the ambiance when he passed, a lot of the ambiance that was Mammoth became more corporate than it was local, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense because that's happening across the ski industry, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. I think of Alta and Snowbird. You think of Alta even more than Snowbird. You think of that's the Cottonwood Canyon's home because everybody
Yes.
else stays down the road. But even that's gotten to be, sort of commercialized, and it is what it is. But I was just curious. Well, listen, thank you for your time. This has been a fun conversation, and you had a terrific career, and obviously you're going to continue. Hopefully, the book comes out, and I appreciate your time. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And keep up the good work.